Hi everybody, I'm glad to have you back. I hope you were here yesterday and decided to come back and visit with me. We're going to have a good time today. We're going to talk, well, let's review yesterday first. Yesterday we talked about the two types of hands that you might be able to play. We talked about there being a no trump hand, a hand where there was not a trump suit or just high card one. And we talked about how you would play a hand if you had a trump suit. We talked about the rules of how the game is played. So in a non-trump hand, in a no-trump hand, where just high card wins, you must follow suit if you can. If you cannot follow suit, then you can play any card in any other suit, but you can't win in a no-trump hand. You must play the highest card in the suit that was led. And in a hand that has a trump contract, you could win by playing a trump. You still had to follow suit if you were able to follow suit. But if you could not follow suit, then if you had a trump suit, play a card in the trump suit and win a trick that way. If you remember, there's 13 tricks in every hand because we have 13 cards in the we play with the whole deck. And then once a trump was played, the only one could take that trick away from you was if they could not follow suit either and they could play a higher trump than the one you played. So those were the two types of hands that you could have. And we talked a little bit, I believe, about the fact that you had a north, south, west, and east. And north and south are partners. So when north wins a trick, if your north player is winning a trick, it's just as good if you're south as you winning the trick yourself. You're a partnership. You're working together. So if north wins, they won for the north-south partnership. If east wins a trick, they won for the east-west partnership. So it doesn't matter which one of you wins, you're going to win for your partnership. And you're trying to take a specific number of tricks every time you play. So let's talk just a little bit about some of the strategy in bridge. In bridge, every single time you play, you're going to have declared, promised that you were going to take a certain number of those 13 tricks. And the opponents are going to try and keep you from taking those tricks. In the bidding, which we haven't talked about yet, that's how that decision is made. The decision of what suit is trumps and how many tricks you were going to try and win. But when the people who were playing bridge were inventing it, they worked out that if you had a bunch of cards in one suit, like 8 or 9, more than that even sometimes, and you had a bunch of the aces and kings, your partnership had a terrific advantage if you were the ones that get to name trumps. So what they said is that we're going to make you have to win 6. That's called book. I don't know why they called it book. They just did. But you have to win those 6 plus the number that you said you were going to win in the bidding. Okay? So it's always the partnership that names trumps always has to take at least 6 and then plus some more after that. And it could be 1 or 2 all the way up to 7. You could promise that you'll win all 13 tricks. That doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen that you can do it very often. But they did another couple of things to make the game interesting too. What they did was they divided the suits between what we call major suits and minor suits. And I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about that concept and about how the game is scored, because it's no fun to play a game if you don't know if you won or not, right? And your goal for every single hand, well, yeah, you want to win the number of tricks you said you were going to win, but you also want to get the most points that you can get every single hand, right? I mean, that's how games work. You don't play a video game and just try and get 100 points and clear the board, right? You want to get as many points as you can. Well, that's what we want to do in bridge as well. So this is how it works. What they said is that we're going to call hearts and spades major suits, and we're going to call diamonds and clubs minor suits. Now, they just picked hearts and spades are majors, diamonds and clubs are minor suits. But when they did that, they also said that for every trick that you win after those first 6, we're going to give you a certain number of points for every trick you won. Okay? So what they said is, if hearts or spades are trumps, for every trick you win after those first 6, we're going to give you 30 points for every trick. And if diamonds or clubs are trumps, you're only going to get 20 points. Well, do you want to win 30 or 20? Yeah, of course, you want to win 30. Who doesn't want the most points that they can win? Now, no trumps, a little squirrely. I don't know why they did this, but, you know, they invented this game 100 years ago, so we can't go back and change anything. They're not going to let us change it at this late date. For no trump, they said for the first trick after 6, we'll give you 40 points. And then for every trick after that first one in no trump, we'll give you 30. So, well, that's pretty good. We can get 30 points if either hearts or spades are trumps. 30 points for every trick after the first 6. And if we play in clubs or diamonds, we only get 20. Okay? But if we play no trump, we get 40 for the first trick and 30 for every trick after that. So it kind of looks like no trump would be better, doesn't it? But y'all, when you have a trump suit, sometimes you're able to take lots more tricks, because remember, your 2 of the trump suit is just as big as any card in any other suit. So a lot of times you end up taking more tricks if you play in a trump suit. So because of that, the first thing you always want to decide is, could we play with a major suit as trumps? Could we play with hearts or spades or trumps? That's going to be your best scoring opportunity. If you don't think you have enough cards in the suit between your 2 hands to do that, then you think about no trump. And your last choice is those minor suits. We only get 20 points, so that's our last choice. So that's pretty clear cut, right? If we could play with hearts or spades as trumps, that's what we want to do. We're going to get the most points we can for that. They also did another thing, though. What they said, they added a little apple, dangled a little carrot in front of your nose and said, well, if you're willing to say that you'll take a whole bunch of tricks, then we'll give you a huge bonus. You're always going to get some kind of bonus if you make your contract. That contract is making the number of tricks you promised you were going to take. You're always going to get a tiny bonus just for doing it. Just for taking the number that you said, for winning the number of tricks you said you could win. That little bitty bonus is 50 points. But if you're willing to bid at a high level, go for it all, we're going to give you a bigger bonus. Okay? And what they said is, if you go to the 4 level in either hearts or spades, so 4, but remember it's always 6 plus 4, right? So how many would that be? 10 out of 13. Okay? So you'd have to win 10 out of 13 if you played in hearts or spades. You'll get a 300-point bonus if you do that. Now, if you don't risk going that high, your bonus is only 50 points. In clubs or diamonds, you have to go all the way to the 5 level. How many tricks is that? 6 plus 5? 11. No trumps, only 3. So, let's just think about that for a second. Let's see how that math works out. I'll show it to you in just a minute. Let's suppose that we say we'll only take 3 tricks with spades as trumps. Okay? So we're going to take 3 tricks with spades as trumps. If we won 10 total, We have to take 6. So let's say we won 6 plus 4. Then 4 times 30 points. Well, 30 plus 30 plus 30 plus 30, we get 120. And we took the amount we said. We took more than the amount we said. It's always okay to take more. Our bonus is 50. So we'd win 170 points. That looks pretty good, huh? But we took 4 above 6. We took our 6 plus 4. We'd still get, if we had bid for it, we'll say we're going to take 4 tricks with spades as trumps. 4 plus 6, right? So it's a total of 10. That's 120. But we risked going high. We said, we're going to try and take 4. We're going to do it. Our bonus is 300 points. 420. So, if you risk going higher, there's always this extra points that you get that kind of makes it worth it sometimes. If you think you can do it, well, why don't you try it? Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. I'd rather have 420 points than 170, wouldn't you? Kids seem to understand this logic better than adults. They seem to get that risk-gain thing a little bit better. I think it's because, in your video games, you're used to always trying to get the biggest score that you can. So the idea of taking a little risk, saying, I'll try and take more tricks instead of less to get a better score, makes sense to you. And if you don't make it, we call that going down. That's when you don't make it. The opponents get a few points when you don't make it. They get like 50 points for every trick. Well, it's not so bad. But how do you know, should I do it, should I risk it, or not risk it? Is it right for me to go try and take 10 tricks or not? Can I do it or can I not do it? Well, about 100 years ago, this guy came out with a way to decide, to make that decision. What he said is he put a numerical value, he put a number on each of the honor cards in a suit. For the ace, the king, the queen, and the jack. The 10's an honor too, but no points for that. And he said, an ace almost always will win a trick, so I'm going to give it a 4. And a king, almost always, I'll give it a 3. And a queen, 2, and a jack, 1. So 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, that's 10. And we have 4 suits, right? And they all have an ace, a king, a queen, and a jack. So 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 4 times 10 is 40. And we call those high card points. There's 40 high card points in a deck. And what we've kind of figured out in all these years of playing bridge, that if you and your partner, between your two hands, have at least 25 or 26 of those high card points, those points in aces, kings, queens, and jacks, you probably should be able to bid to that higher level and be successful in making your contract. If you bid 4 spades, saying we'll win 10 tricks, and you have 8 or 9 spades between your two hands, and you have 25 or 26 points, you're probably going to be able to do it. And if you don't have 25 or 26 points between your two hands, probably not. So what you want to do when you start bidding, which we'll talk about that in tomorrow, when you start talking about bidding, the 2 things that you're going to want to be telling your partner, you want to try and let them know how many of those high card points you have in your hand, how many points in aces and kings and queens and jacks, so they can figure out how many things you might be able to win, because an ace is going to win a trick and a king might win a trick, right? So how strong your hand is, how many of those aces and kings and queens and jacks, and which of your suits are long. Do you have some long suits, some suits that have a bunch of cards? And he's going to try and figure out, is there a suit between our two hands, we hope it's either spades or hearts, that we might have at least 8 cards between our two hands. So every single time you bid, every single time, you want to tell partner something about your hand, about how strong your hand is, and about what your long suits are. And you want it to be something that they don't know yet. Okay? So this is what you can do for the rest of the day and tomorrow before we meet again tomorrow afternoon. And I used to do this all the time. I would sit in front of the TV and I would deal 4 hands out and sort them into suits and turn them over and count my points. And I would say, how many points does this hand have? How many points does this hand have? This one and this one. And then I would look at my partner's hand with me, and I would figure out what suit we would like to have trumps. If there was a suit that we had 8 cards between our two hands, or if I thought no trump was a good idea. And then I would see how we might play it out, how the hand might be played. Now, if you've got 4 people at your house that can play with you, I've even got a better game that you can do. So what you do is you deal the 4 hands out, and gosh, I'll have to mix these up, right? And everybody's going to count. They're going to make sure they have 13 cards. And then you're going to sort your hand into suits, right? And everybody's going to count their points. Now, some of you that have played cards, I know, might be younger than some of the others. If you need to write down on a piece of paper how many points you have, like in aces or kings and queens and jacks, and then add them up, that's certainly fine. Can't do it when you're playing a game, but you can certainly do it while you're practicing. I don't want you to feel like you have to struggle and do it all in your head, right? I mean, that's no fun. And this is a good practice. And it's like I told you about everything else. The more you do it, the easier it gets, the more practice you have. Okay, so if it takes you a longer time to do it, don't worry about it at the very beginning. There's no sense in worrying about it. It just takes a little bit longer. Everybody's got plenty of time. We're not in a rush, are we? Well, this hand is pretty easy to count. I'm going to put them down here so you can see them. I'm going to move this out of the way and show you how this game is going to work. So everybody is going to deal their 13 cards. They're going to sort them into suit. And somebody who's good in math is going to be the person who writes this stuff down for you guys, okay? So pick somebody that's good in math that can help you with this. And you could actually probably do this if there's only 3 of you. Okay? And you can keep score. You can send me a message or something on my Facebook page, or if you got my email, you can send me a message. I want to know who wins. Okay? I mean, I like to play games for fun, but I like to win. That's my favorite thing. All right, so let's look at these 4 hands. So what you're going to do is everybody's going to deal their hand, and you're going to keep your hand, you looking at it, and you're going to count your points. So I'm going to look at this hand, and this was north, and I'm going to say north and south are partners, east and west are partners. And north has 3 points for the king and 1 for the jack. That's 4. 5 and 2 for the queen is 7. That's not very many, is it? And east has 3 aces. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, and a king is 3, so east has 15. And South has 4 plus 3 is 7, and Queen is 2, that's 9. And West, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're going to add those up. We're going to make sure we got to 40, right? Because there's 40 points in a deck. So North-South had 16 and East-West had 24. So we're going to let, and that's just for this game now. This is not bridge. This is called mini bridge. But it's a good way to practice playing the hand out. We're going to say that East and West are going to be the people that have a chance to name trumps or play in no trump. Right? Because they have more high card points. And if we were bidding, that's kind of the way it works out sometimes. And who had the most points of East or West? East did, right? So East, we would say, is going to be the person who gets to decide what to do. And these hands are going to be held up, right? We're not going to see these two hands because they're going to be trying to keep us from winning tricks, the North and South players. Got to turn those over. Boy, I need a smaller table. And what will happen is West, because they had less points than East, is going to lay their hand down face up on the table in columns, and they're called dummy. D-U-M-M-Y. Not because they're stupid or anything like that. Or 4. Okay? So that's going to be 8 or 10. Remember, it's always 6 plus the number. And if they played in no trump, it's going to be either 1 or 3, 7 or 9. So I'm going to rotate these hands so to make it a little bit easier for y'all to see them, right? This is dummy. Let me get them all turned around. I'm going to put those to the side. And this is the other hand. And they get to decide which suit is going to be trumps or whether they want to play in no trump. So what do you think they should do? Let's see what they've got. Well, I think they definitely don't want diamonds as trumps, do they? Because they've only got 2 diamonds here and none there. And spades. 4 spades and 2 spades. We don't want spades trumps. We only have 6 trumps between our 2 hands if we call it spades trumps. So those are kind of out. We're not going to pick those. That leaves us with clubs and hearts. So how many hearts do we have between our 2 hands? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 hearts. And what about clubs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 clubs. So they're equal. And it looks like our clubs are a little bit better. We have the queen, the jack, the 10, and the ace. And in hearts, we don't have the jack. So which suit would you want to be trumps? How many points would you get for every trick you won if clubs were trumps? It's just 20, right? And if hearts were trumps, you would get 30 points for every trick. So I would pick hearts. That's the one I would pick because I would want to get 30 points for every trick. I just think that that extra 10 points might be really nice to have. So I would say I want hearts to be trumps. And when you have a trump suit, it always goes on dummy's right. And now, this person, we call them declarer, is going to play with hearts as trumps. And now he has to decide how many tricks is he going to try and win. Whew, that's a hard decision, isn't it? If he says 2, he has to win 8 tricks, and I think he can do that pretty easily. But gosh, if he says 10, he can only lose 3. Wow. Tell you what, why don't y'all lay this hand out and just shuffle up the remaining 26 cards and give them to the other two people. You know, shuffle them up and just deal them out one at a time to the other two people. And see how many tricks you can win if hearts are trumps. If you want to, you can go ahead and say how many you're going to try to win. There's not any difference if you say 2 or 3. Okay? That doesn't matter. And it's not any different if you say 4 or 5. So it's either 2, and you still can get points for every trick you win after that, or 4. But the difference is if you're willing to bid high, to say, I'm going to try and take 10 tricks or more, if you're successful, if you can win 10, you get a 300-point bonus. It's a hard decision to make. Let me know how it works out for you. I really want to know. And I'm going to, maybe I'll play this hand out and tape that, but show it to you later. I don't know. We'll see. Of course, when you just deal those other 26 cards out, you might get a different hand than I do, so I guess that's not really fair. But I'll play it out, tell you what I risked and whether I made it or not with my cards over on either side. I hope to see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how you start that bidding, how that conversation goes with your partner, how you're able to let them know in a special code, a special way of talking that only bridge players know, how strong your hand is, how many of those aces, kings, queens, and jacks you have, and what your long suits are. It's really interesting, but it's kind of complex too. It can be tough sometimes, but we'll take it slow. So I hope to see y'all tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.